Who do you think would be the first one to get on the AC shots on an interview? Me or you?
Well, in previous conversations, I think I have first dibs on that. But since you have him here
Yeah.
editing and doing all the back end for you, he might be the one to be
Yeah?
here first.
What would that be?
On the low.
Would that be offensive? Like,
Nah, not at all. Not at all. It's all family. It's
a
all
heavy
love.
blessing?
So that means
He
you
won't do
already
it.
did
He
it.
won't do
That
it,
means
though.
you already did it. It's
Nah,
done.
we haven't. I was trying to
exclusive.
I was trying to plant the seed, but
They got AC shots in an interview coming soon.
I was trying to plant the seed, but maybe next time. But thank you, man. Thank you for coming, bro. This is
Appreciate you, man.
something we definitely wanted to do for a while.
Yes.
And I feel like you've had like so many different experiences that are
Yes, sir.
valuable to people either in New York now or planning to come to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like all this other experience with what we're doing now, podcasting.
Right.
What we see on HGTV every day with like renovating places and transforming spaces and stuff. So I'd love to kind of get into all of that. But one of the things that you did to kind of get into New York real estate was using a loan that is only for veterans. So thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. What could you tell us about like your experience with using a VA loan and just everything that it entailed?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I appreciate you reaching out and having me on your platform. This has been an experience for me because previous to me getting that VA loan, as you mentioned, I had heard about it. I've heard that it was zero down and all that stuff, but it's kind of like the smoke and mirrors effect that I had with it. Like it was like, is this real? That was my main question. It wasn't until I asked you during the time frame that we were ready to buy a home and make our first move, our first purchase of the house, that I realized that entire process is completely real and true. I paid zero down in the beginning of it.
So did you take it as like one of those like commercials that you see on TV, like
Yes.
no money, like like there'll be back in the day they had like the Wiz, Nobody Beats the Wiz, or like PC Richard and Son, like more recent, I guess.
Right.
And it'll be like just walk in the door and you'll walk out with A, B, and C.
I thought it was a commercial to get me into the door and sell me something else. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
but in learning the process, because this was our first trial at purchasing a home and learning the entirety of the process, how long it takes. I came to realize, me and my wife came to realize very quick that this is a real situation and a real thing that we definitely took advantage of. Of course, there's money to be paid in the back end when you're completing the loan. Of course, that's still there. Mm-hmm. But as far as the beginning process, where you would have to give a 5%, 10% FHA loan or whatever, it may be conventional, which is 20% probably at this point as well. It wasn't none of that. It was zero down.
So it was truly 0% down.
Yes.
But you said like there were some funds that you needed for closing.
For closing, of course.
What were those?
So those were everything else actually. And to be quite honest, as I was going through the process, I didn't quite still believe that the VA loan was zero down throughout the process. Yeah. However, and I was looking for that part where I would say, okay, this portion of it was added to the back end in the closing, and it wasn't that either. The closing was totally separate, and they broke down every piece of it and everything. So there are closing costs attached to the loan, but as a veteran, it just brought relief to me and my family knowing that initially we didn't have to give up a lump sum. So that freed us up, not only like financially, but it calmed us down as well. And we was like, okay, we were able to maneuver some of those funds into some renovation when we first got the home. Yeah. So that was a plus.
So like initially you kind of thought this was like a myth, but it was a myth worth like trying to like uncover.
Yeah.
So once you started to realize that it was like real, it was legit, it was possible, were there any other like surprises or misconceptions about like about the VA loan, or like let's say the whole process from applying for the loan to closing? Is there any surprises that came up?
Not at all. The process was still the process. The only difference was zero down. Of course, you have to go through, everything else, like is an inspection done, credit has to be up to par. And there's even some leeway into that. Me being a veteran, of course, that allowed the credit to fluctuate a bit as well. I actually purchased the home, I would say, at the right time, because during that time frame, I remember the interest rates were very, very low. It's kind of like during the midst of the pandemic. So it's kind of like it happened when it needed to happen, because I remember a year prior to everything happening as far as the pandemic, we came to you and we asked you, we started to go through the process a little bit, but, the interest rates were a totally different place. I was told to, kind of like organize my credit a little bit more. So we took a step back nonetheless, and we organized ourselves. But in that time frame, pandemic happened, interest rates were lowered. So it was kind of like the perfect time to come back around with the VA loan, low interest rates. It was just kind of like a gift, gift in itself. Right.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about stuff like this in the past, but like God's timing is always perfect. We have a plan, and God laughs in a way, right?
100%.
And your situation's so cool because it's one of the rare times.
Yeah.
Especially like over the last 7-8 years, let's say, it's one of the rare times that waiting 1 year is actually beneficial, whereas like now, or at least like in the last 4 years, right? You just hit your 5-year anniversary,
right.
So
yes,
congrats,
yes.
your 5-year closing anniversary.
Thank you.
But at least like in the last 4 years, waiting 1 year has had like really like
Tremendously
incredible like implications, right? Like the property values keep going up year over year.
100%.
Demand keeps going up, and then inventory is like steadily declining, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So it's so cool that like you waited that 1 year, the rates drop. Do you know, like I would just guess, right? Like if the interest rates, let's just say we're at like in the mid 4s or in the 5s, right? Before you guys bought, then the rates drop in 2021 significantly, and now you're probably saving, I would guess, maybe like $400 to $600 a month on the mortgage. More than that.
More than that. Because I did some math after the fact too. So I'm the type of person that I like to deep dive into. Like I go into rabbit holes about certain situations that I'm currently in, just to see what would have happened if, right? Yeah. So even that, like you mentioned, it was a blessing in disguise. God's timing is perfect, where we waited a year. Yeah, the year may have seemed long for us, but we got super organized credit-wise, financially. The pandemic in itself allowed us to stay home, not spend so much money outside, save some money. So that in its totality was happening. So it was like when we came back the year after and we purchased a home, it was like, oh, this was a better situation than what we thought it would be. Because, and even that, like, okay, now we save some money. Now we are really learning that the zero down in the beginning. Now we could move some funds and move it to renovate. It's like a lot of things came with that patience, with that year.
Yeah.
So when you say God's timing is perfect, it's definitely a real
you
thing.
like sat back and like
I analyzed,
figured out the chess moves.
Right. And then when you're looking at now the interest rates are kind of like where they used to be in a way, we probably saved a couple of thousands of dollars just in mortgage. Because somebody every month because I had every town is different, tax codes and everything, but I've had friends that purchased homes in Long Island that the homes were worth less than my house or about the same. And I get it, town taxes are different in different areas, and this is me learning throughout the process, right? Because I didn't know this before. But even in that case, that person's tax rate is somewhat similar to mine. The house price is somewhat similar to what I bought it. They're paying like $2,000 extra. Or $2,000 more than me a month. So when you look at the overall picture, it was just the right time to buy a house.
$24,000 a year. That's I don't know.
That's a lot.
What is that? Like a semester in college now? That's a big deal.
That's definitely a lot. That's definitely a lot.
Nah, that's a big deal, man. And you mentioned Long Island, so so you lived in the boroughs, you grew up in the boroughs.
Queens native, baby.
Queens.
Yes.
And now, from Queens moving to Long Island, what were some of the things that like you look forward to? Now, well, I guess what was the thought process? Like, why do people just generally, from your experience, from your own experience, and maybe other people that you talk to,
right?
Why do people generally like look to move to Long Island?
So, in my experience of it, my wife and I was looking at Long Island. I guess is the borough effects, right? If you're in Queens, typically, if you're gonna make a move like that, people from Queens or maybe Brooklyn move to Long Island. People from the Bronx and probably Harlem, they probably moved to Westchester, Yonkers, area. So Jersey, right? Because it's closer to them. So it's there's that, right? So for me, the reason why, because I also looked at other states, because I've lived outside of New York, so I've had those experiences. So I was open to going to Texas or going somewhere else because I've had those experiences. My wife, not so much, right? So that's why she wanted to stay in New York. Yeah. So when we're looking at Long Island, we used to go to the IKEA in Hicksville. Okay. So our thought process was, yo, we want to move near IKEA. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful area. Yeah. That's all we kind of like knew about Long Island. We didn't necessarily know about the area that we're in now because we never was around that area. Actually, the pandemic shifted us to that area because as we were looking for houses, that time frame, it was like the seller's market. That's what you mentioned that at that time where houses were being sold like French fries. It was just like everywhere. So every time we would look at a house and fall in love with it to a point, like 2 days later, the realtor would call us and say, hey, somebody already gave $10,000, $20,000 more than what the asking was. So that was happening a lot. So we ended up in Massapequa by mistake. So, but to answer your question, it was just like seeking a better future for our kids than what we had. Not that there was anything wrong with Queens or the city in general. It's just that we wanted a more quiet down environment, more homey environment for our kids. It's just like our parents. Our parents came from DR to find a better future for us. We're trying to do the same thing for our kids. That was all.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, from what I'm hearing you say is like you notice something different when you guys would go out to Hicksville. Yeah. Like you probably once you get out of the car, you were like, okay, I'm in a different environment now. Yeah. This feels good. This feels right. Is it more like the peace, like the slower pace, let's say, like that kind of thing?
100%. So even now, 5 years in living in Long Island, I feel that even when I come back to Queens, it's just too clustered for me in a way. Yeah. Like I love Queens. I love the city. I'm a city kid for life, right? But as in terms of just peace of mind, like somewhere where I could park freely anywhere, right? Having a home is a plus because you have your kind of like your garage or your driveway or whatever. But just that, it's just more of a relaxed environment to do those things. Yeah. I don't know where anyone lives, right? But where I lived in Queens, it was a tough area, rough area, right? A lot of crime and stuff like that too. And not to say that Queens in general is filled with crime. It's not that. It's just that where I was at, right? Where my parents were at. Yeah. I needed to get them. Everybody needed to get away with me. Yeah. Come with me. We're gonna go here for a more peaceful environment. Like literally, you could walk outside and it's like birds chirping. Yeah. I never heard birds chirping ever in the city. Yeah. So when I'm hearing birds chirping in the morning or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, I could get used to this. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that's the plus side.
It's funny. It's like things that when we're little we probably don't think about, but the older we get, parking, hearing birds chirp.
Man, listen.
More space.
Definitely.
Not hearing every move that your neighbors make, that's a plus.
This list is truly the little things.
Yeah.
We're getting older, like you said. You want more peace and tranquility, a peace of mind. Yeah. You want somewhere where your kids could literally go outside and be free to play and not. There's danger everywhere. I'm not going to say there's not danger. There's danger everywhere. So you got to keep those kind of like mindsets in place, but it's a better environment.
Yeah, it's a smaller community. It's less likely that, it's more likely that if somebody from down the street sees your daughter walking down the street, they'll be mindful. Like, okay, that's my neighbor's daughter. You look after each other. Whereas in more like densely populated areas, like in Queens and Brooklyn, Bronx, you don't like. There's just so many people. There's so much foot traffic. Let's say it's almost impossible for you to 100%. Have that like neighborly. Neighborhood watch kind of eye.
No, even that, like what you just said, where I think the military experience and me just growing up in the city won't even let me have that mindset of just freedom either way. Even if we're in a better environment, that's not possible for me to think, okay, now that we're in a better environment, you could go out there and just walk to, no, it's not going to happen. My mind will not let me. I will still be that, I will still be the same person in the same mindset as if I was in the city.
Well, you're 5 years in now to Long Island. Still. Do you feel like, and I know like some of these things are like deeply ingrained, but do you feel like it's possible for like, let's say your 10-year anniversary, you're kind of like more accustomed and there's things like you don't worry about as much now that you're 10 years removed from the city?
No.
You
Still,
you
it's still
feel
the
like
same
it'll still be
mindset.
there?
That mindset, and I think it's a defense mechanism. Not all defense mechanisms are bad, even though they may seem like there's some anxiety attached to it. I think they're in place just for protection. Like I'm still thinking that, and again, it might be some military trauma attached to this, but I'm still thinking that something may happen at any time. So I don't think I'll ever let that state of mind go. It might be bad for me to think that way,
Yeah.
but it's also protecting me and my family in a sense. You can never be too safe.
Have you connected with more veterans on Long Island versus when you were in the boroughs?
No.
Same or,
That's a good
or
question.
less?
That's a good question. About the same, I would
Okay.
say. The thing with us veterans is, unless we're in the VA or, you know, I'm at an event that involves veterans, because the line of work that I do go to veteran shelters and help them seek jobs and opportunities and training. But unless we're in those environments, we wouldn't know that you was a veteran. Or unless you have a
With a hat,
veteran's
yeah,
hat
yeah,
or
yeah.
something, or a veteran's plate
Yeah.
in your vehicle, I wouldn't know that you're a veteran. So I believe in my town there probably are a lot of veterans, and there's some that have the flag in front of the house saying veteran. So you notice these things. For me, you'll know that I'm a veteran because of my plates. So it just and people come by and say thank you for your service, and I don't know them, but they saw that I'm a veteran.
You're
through my
seeing that
plates.
now, or you saw that before too?
I didn't see that before. I see that now. But keep in mind, the city mindset, you're not really talking to anybody either, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of us in the city are just walking by each other, not even saying
Plus,
good
if you're
morning.
looking for parking, you park 3 blocks away.
Forget about
Nobody
it.
knows that's your car
Right.
anyway.
But if there's an environment, because now this is the other thing, like I don't see much people outside walking, and when I do, they're recognizing everything that they're seeing. It's like they're looking for things to kind of like point to when they're analyzing who lives there or whatever. So when they look at my house or they look at any veteran's house, they could see the veteran's place. In my house, for example, they know that I'm a veteran, so they'll come and say thank you for your service and all that stuff. But that's a good question because a lot of us don't connect outside of those environments.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
If there was a veteran listening to this and maybe they haven't bought their first property, but they've thought about it once or twice, what would you say to somebody now that you've gone through that experience and now that you've like uprooted the family and kind of introduced the whole family to this new environment, knowing what you know now?
Yeah.
If there was like one piece of advice or one thing that you could tell a veteran, what would it be?
Seek information. For me, in my experience, I can't speak for all veterans. I'm not even speaking about the VA system in general. But I don't know if it was because I was too young when I was exiting the military that I wasn't in that state of mind, or a lot was going on, or I just don't remember a breakdown of my benefits.
Yeah.
I just don't remember that. That might have happened, but I just don't remember it. Again, I don't know why my memory doesn't serve me in this way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of benefits for veterans. There's a lot. And when I see veterans come into my place of work or my line of work, and because we do assist veterans in my line of work in separate ways, a lot of them come with misinformation that they don't know what they're entitled to. Because they never did their own due diligence in checking the information for themselves.
Like to check their eligibility and
Check
things
your
like
eligibility, see what you're qualified for, what you're able to obtain. So a lot of us are not informed. So what I would tell veterans, specifically looking for a house, this is real. The 0% down is real. That's a real thing. And there's more benefits attached to just that. There's way more. Just go to your local county office, speak to the veterans rep. They'll be able to break down what you're actually eligible for in a way. Because us not knowing and just walking around in the blind and not having this information is a detriment. And a lot of information, a lot of great information is kept from you, probably, right? Just so you won't attain the benefits. Or you just doing a disservice to yourself and not seeking the information. So veterans, go seek the information. It's all there. Speak to your veterans rep. Go to the VA in Varick Street, the VA central office here in New York City, in the city in Manhattan on 23rd Street, I believe. There's a lot of benefits that we could obtain. And a lot of this, and I know a lot of this because I did my own due diligence in seeking the information. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I feel like with things like this, you you got to get like very curious. You know,
Have to.
don't just like take the answer of one search and let that be your only answer to everything. You know, dig deeper, and like you mentioned, like you'll go down rabbit holes for certain things.
Right.
And then there's other people, right? Like you mentioned, you don't know that you're in front of a veteran when you're in front of a veteran sometimes,
Right.
unless you're like at the VA, let's say, or you see somebody's plates. But you know, maybe for some of the veterans out there, they just start asking other veterans, like, "Hey, do you own a home?" Or "What was that process like?"
Right. Right.
Or go to Varick Street, or go to
Yeah.
that's
Seek the
huge.
information. That's the
Yeah.
only way you'll really truly get everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Even in terms of school, right? I went to school. I got out of the military and I didn't know what to do. I went back to a regular job, right? So a friend of mine told me, hey, you know that the VA pays for your school and pays you to go to school. I didn't know this. So I did my due diligence. I went to the VA. They told me what I was eligible for. They covered the entire 4 years of my bachelor's, right? And some of my master's. And they gave me a stipend to go to school, a monthly stipend. So even when you look at something like that, and you start to think, wow, a lot of veterans don't know about this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone catches this jewel from this episode and says, you know what, let me check, and they're eligible to go to college free, to any college at that. You go to college for free, you get paid so much you won't even have to work. You'll
That's
focus
an
more on
awesome
school.
incentive, man. I mean,
So that's an incentive to go get your bachelor's, even your master's at some point, or your PhD. Depends on what you're benefited for, right? So seek the information. You might be withholding yourself from your next level.
Yeah.
Because this allows you to free up some space, focus on school, and take your family into a different situation at some point because you're carrying that weight too.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah. And thanks again, man. Shout out to veterans. Yeah. I mean, we have like all these freedoms in our country that I think we could take for granted from time to time, and sometimes we don't realize the sacrifice that people put in to uphold those freedoms, and with that sacrifice comes great benefits as well. You know, I know there's you know, I know it's not like all easy, and it's not like the easiest transition for people coming back home, let's say from serving time in the military, but at the very least, like there is this line of benefits that now can extend far beyond you as a veteran, but now it positively affects generations to come, right? Like so many, you know, so many of us have realized like the benefits of property ownership and how that doesn't impact like just one family or just one generation. I just put something up on YouTube because I get a question a lot, right? Like some people are like, you know, does it make sense to buy property in New York? Does it make sense to invest in New York? And what I oftentimes tell them is like, short term, if you're looking over the next 2, 3, 5 years, probably not. Like the numbers look horrendous. Even if you're putting down a substantial down payment of 20, 25%, cash flow a lot of times is not there. A lot of times your rental income for that property doesn't even break even and cover all of your expenses. But when we take a huge step back and we're looking at like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, we can potentially positively impact 3, maybe 4 generations
100%.
through one property, you know, sometimes, right? Because through that through that one investment, you're taking equity out that can fund another investment. And now the only thing you put down was your closing costs in the beginning, in your example, right? Like you put 0% down. In 5-10 years, you could have enough equity to build to buy a property in Texas, let's say.
100%.
Maybe move in it whenever you feel like you're tired of New York, right? So it's such a like huge benefit now. I had a question, man.
Two things I would like to just end on the veterans benefits thing. One, as you're purchasing a home, right, and you go through the VA loan process, at the very end of it, when you close out, you know, the VA loan is also in place if you go through hardships times where you lose your job, right, and something happens. They'll be able to cover you for an extended amount of time. And when I say extended, I mean extended. So if you're a veteran and you're seeking a home, and then you know, things happen in life and you end up falling short financially in some way or going through rough times, the VA will also back you in paying the house off until you get back on your feet. That's a benefit. The other benefit I would like to openly say here as well is for the GI Bill, which is the bill that allows you to go to school completely free. If you don't want to take advantage of it and you want your spouse to take advantage of it, she can. So your spouse could go to school completely free and get paid while she's going to school. Your kids can take advantage of this. So just be well versed in what the VA offers you. That's for all the veterans.
Those are huge like gems right there, man. Because
and it's not you don't see that anywhere.
Yeah,
you don't
like
see people
what
talking
if
about this. But this is what it is. We need to inform each other. That's all.
Yeah, like what if you have a skill set that doesn't require you to go to college for 4 years or 6 years, and now you have something that you can monetize, like your skill set, your knowledge base, but you still have this benefit, and you to know that you can pass it on to a spouse. That's huge, man. Wow, thank you for sharing that. And I feel like with your experience, like it's not like any just typical move to Long Island experience. I feel like the market has been very challenging. It's still challenging for home buyers because we're still in a seller's market. There's low inventory. There's high demand. And the absorption rate is low. Absorption rate is basically like how many months does it take to swallow up this inventory that's on the market now? Like how quickly or slowly will all of these active properties on the market right now sell if no other properties came on the market, right?
Right.
So that's remained like relatively low.
Wow.
So a seller's market is usually when the absorption rate is below like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
A balanced market is usually anywhere between like 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 months of inventory. And then a buyer's market is like usually upwards of 6-7 months, right? That means that there's so much inventory, it's going to take forever for it to sell. It'll take more than 6 months. And that's a buyer's market. We've been like pretty steadily below like that 4 or 5 month mark for a long time.
So my question to you becomes, I have a question about that. So you're talking about the time frame it takes to purchase a home within each market, right?
No, I'm talking about the time that it'll take for all of the buyer demand
Right.
to purchase the properties that are on the market.
In those individual markets.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A buyer's market, the seller's market. Have you ever seen a time? So I don't know. So this is why I'm asking. Have you ever seen a time? What's the longest time frame you've seen a market stay steady? Like, for example, you just mentioned we're still in a seller's market. We was in a seller's market 5 years ago when I purchased a home. How much longer do you think this would take? Or what's the average amount of time it takes for one market to replace the other?
Like for it to like flow back to like a balanced market.
To the buyer's
That's a good question because I think New York is not, like, to be very clear, in some markets right now throughout the country, we're in a buyer's market. So there's like a ton of inventory. Yeah, like
okay.
I'll give you an example. I was talking to a broker in Phoenix recently.
Okay.
And he's like, there's a lot of inventory here. There's a lot of new construction, new development, and they overbuilt, right?
Okay.
And I don't think it was just Phoenix. I think it was like Phoenix and Tucson or Phoenix and Scottsdale, but it was more than one city in Arizona.
Okay.
And basically, like they built a lot to the point where like they overbuilt. They built past like demand, and now the builders are offering tons of incentives. So like we just talked about the benefits for veterans, right?
Yeah.
Picture benefits being available to just any home buyer. Like, take this house off of my hands.
Yeah.
So that's like cash credits at closing. Yeah. Like, hey, you buy this house, you'll get whatever, $50,000 or something after closing or whatever the case.
Super incentivized.
Yeah. So there's some markets where it's like that. There are other markets in the country where it's a balanced market. It's like a normal market. I've been in New York real estate for like about 10 years now.
Right.
No, I got licensed 2017. We're in 2026. So,
9 years.
About 9 years, going on 10 years. And I still have yet to see an extreme buyer's market, right? However, right now, there are certain property types that are buyer's markets, right? Okay. I'm not too involved in commercial. We do a little bit of commercial, but in commercial real estate, depending on what type of building or
that's
property, depending on what county, this is a buyer's market for commercial.
Okay.
also for co-ops. There's a lot of inventory for co-ops compared to condos.
Got it.
Right. So co-ops in a lot of places are technically in the buyer's market. Right. Okay. The one thing with co-ops that kind of keeps it a little bit more balanced is the fact that co-ops require board approval. So if AC Shots is selling a co-op for $500,000 and it's been on the market forever, and you're like, you know what, I'll take this off your hand for $400,000. That's a 20% like discount you were able to negotiate. However, the board still has to approve it. So if the board says no, we're not allowing a sale for this low of an amount
in that case.
Yeah, so it can be tougher.
Okay.
Now, if we're looking at like condos, single family, and small multifamily, 2 to 4 family buildings, we're still in the seller's market. We've been in the seller's market for the majority of the time. And to answer your question, I would think that these markets would fluctuate every like 6 to 9 months, maybe, or every 6 to 12 months. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah, this is the post-pandemic, I guess.
Yeah, this is the world.
Right?
This is the world.
This is the world after, right? Yes.
And speaking of that, speaking of the pandemic, you bought a property that is not a traditional single family.
Right.
You bought a property during a high demand market,
which
during
was very
COVID,
strange to do at that time. Yeah.
And then you're doing it with a VA loan.
Yeah.
What were like some of the challenges that you noticed, or were there challenges that are like different, for any other home buyers?
Well, the one challenge was just buying the home in itself. Like, we went back to so this is what happened with us, right? We saw about 10 houses on average. I think it was about almost 10 houses, if I'm not mistaken. It got to a point where we was just like looking at houses and was like, yo, just put it in a bid, like, and then just keep it moving. We couldn't even like fall in love with the house because we had already done that with like 3 other houses, and somebody had came in and said, nope, it's a done deal. So we ended up in Massapequa by mistake, like I mentioned, right? So at that point, I went to the house. My wife went. We were there. We're looking at the house. Like, okay, you're looking at the house now to see if it has potential, because you go in with your state of mind of changing a few things. It was like, okay, it has potential. But the plus with the house that we actually got was that the lady that was selling the house was actually her mom's, and her mom was a veteran. So me being a veteran and me being introduced to her, as soon as we stepped out, we said, okay, it got potential, and we left, and we was going to see another house. Like, we got a call the next day saying, the lady accepted the offer, she appreciates the service and all that, so she wants to move forward. I believe that's the only reason why we ended up with it. And at that point, me and my wife said, okay, let's go back there and see the house again to see truly if it has some potential. And then we started looking at the school system, and then we started looking at everything else. And, we did our due diligence about the town and all that. And we was like, okay, let's go forward. That's the only, during that time frame, that's the only reason I believe we got the house.
Yeah.
And we moved forward with the house, or else we would have ended up somewhere else, or probably still looking for a house.
In New York real estate, there's like an ongoing debate, I feel, with maybe within like real estate professionals, real estate agents, what have you. But one of the questions that comes up is like, does it matter if you write a letter to the home seller with your offer? So sometimes like people will put in an offer, and it'll say, hey, we're moving to this neighborhood because we have family that live here. We're a family of 4. And, what we like to do is we like to bike ride, and we love that this park is nearby. Like, people will write letters along with their offers, and there's like wow. I'm like 50-50 on it, right? Like, sometimes I feel like, what? It can't hurt to write a letter.
Yeah.
Or to present a letter, let's say, to the seller. But at the same time, like, it's all depending on the seller's situation, right?
Right.
Does the seller absolutely need to hit a certain number? And if so, will a letter actually like make a difference? Maybe not, right? In
Maybe
some situations. But
depends.
What I love about what you just shared is that, maybe this is an argument towards writing that letter or sharing that person, even if it's not like a formal letter, just sharing that information.
Very true.
When you're seeing a property, when you're writing an offer, like, hey, this is our situation. This is why we're moving here. These are our intentions with the property. Here's what we like about the property. And you never know when it'll strike a chord or when it'll hit home.
Very true. And to add to that point, my wife and I was thinking about doing something like that because we had realized, oh no. Mind you, this is our first time going through this process. So we don't know about the seller's market, buyer's market. We're learning as we go. Right. So I remember in the midst of it asking you, cuz, hey, this keeps happening. This is a seller's market, so this is gonna happen. So I started understanding these things very quickly. So we almost got to a point where we're like, listen, we're just gonna have to like meet the person, introduce ourselves, let them know, let them see us, let them see our family to see what type of families entering their space at the time. Because some people are attached to the point where they want a good family in the house to take it over. They don't want somebody that's going to come and destroy the house and make. People are attached to whatever they're attached to. So you don't know these things, but preemptively, that is a good suggestion to kind of like go with that mindset. Let's say if we ever do it again, now we know these things and we'll be able to maneuver through them a lot quicker rather than just learn as we go, which learning as you go is always a plus as well if you're willing to learn, if you're that type of person. You don't go into blindly into situations. But if you're that type of person and you're just seeking information as you're going through the process, this is a great lesson learned for the next time that we go through it. Because, they always say, our mindset in the beginning before we bought the house was this is going to be our forever home. And to be quite honest, that's not the case. Like, we're like, okay, it's getting kind of tight in here. The girls are growing, you start feeling the pressures. So you start looking at it, we did it once, we could do it again. But the next time we do it, we know exactly what we're looking for, what we want, what we don't want, and how to maneuver through markets and different situations and scenarios. Have a letter at hand just in case, right? All of these things play a factor into it. So the second time that it'll be done at some point, it'll be a lot smoother.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to be said about like learning as you go and like kind of gaining that experience from actually taking action, right? 100%. I think the last one of the last guests that we had, we were talking about analysis paralysis, and he was kind of talking about just starting to like read things and then realize, like, reach a point where it's like I gotta just go all in. 100%. I gotta go all in and learn as I go. And it does make the next process like smoother. It does make the next property maybe even that much more profitable, right? 100%. If we're looking at like an investment. So, thank you.
But it depends on the type of person you are, right? You got to seek the information. Like, I don't know when I became that type of person, but I dive in. I go through loopholes, rabbit holes with information that serves me and benefits me in an aspect of my life. So I'm very like, give me a book, give me 2 books, let me learn, let me go deep dive, because I want to be knowledgeable. Just so I could share this knowledge with my kids and prepare them a little bit better too in any scenario that they may move forward in. So it's just a plus to be that type of person.
Yeah. Sure. So now that you went through that process, you close on the property, you move to another world in a way, right? In many ways. What can you talk about like some of your experience with like renovating or like just completely like fixing up? Because I got a chance to see your baby. I got a chance to see your major project. Can you talk to us about like some of the some of the pros and cons that you made?
Right. So the adjustments and the pros and cons, because there's a lot to be learned here as well, right? As you're going through this process for the first time. So one thing that I've learned that I want to first dive into is the cheapest route isn't always the best route. So when you're renovating, because it may be cheaper, it may be easier on your pockets, a little bit lighter, you may be getting a lot more for that bang for your buck, but there's going to be a lot of things that are not going to be right at the end. So I've learned that I'd rather pay a little bit more to get the things done correctly than to pay thousands of dollars less and get it half-assed done. So, but at the same time, the plus is as they're renovating everything in my house, I tore down walls, I put new walls, I put lighting fixtures. I am looking at the people. I'm this type of person. I'm looking at the people to learn it and never call them again and do it myself. So now I become a plumber, an electrician, everything, right? So you're learning as you go, right? Yeah, so, absolutely. But with my baby, which is the garage, I converted into a podcast / gym space. Man, that's the jewel. That's the jewel of the house.
Right. How long did it take?
So mind you, I bought the house. The garage was like bones. It was like no walls. It was just like, the wood sticks and all that stuff. It was just empty. So at first we utilized it for like storage, but then the bright idea came to create the podcast space there. It took about like 3 weeks to complete it in total for the people to come and complete it.
Yeah.
The same people that did the adjustments around my house that I will not contact again.
Yeah.
I contacted them for that project, which was in a smaller space away from the house. They could make their mess, they do whatever they need to do there. But it just and I have a before and after video coming out soon of that. But you'll see the beauty in transforming that space. So one thing I'll say is cheaper isn't always the best, but I've made a lot of adjustments in the house. I completely gutted and renovated the kitchen, the backyard. I did some adjustments there too. It's costly. It becomes a cost effect situation, but just be mindful because in this whole process, you may be spiking your taxes up as you're making renovations and you don't know on the back end. So these are things that, you just want to be aware of in a sense. So if it's not your forever home, don't do too much, right? Do some adjustments, do what you need. And if you have in mind to get that forever home in the future, then it'll come with those things and those amenities that you already needed in place.
Yeah.
Or you could go all out with the first home, even if you're going to sell at some point, but just know you're getting your bang for your buck. You're getting all that money back. So make all the renovations you want at that point. Yeah. It's a catch-22.
Were there any specific renovations you made that you feel affected the property taxes?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet, because I was about to do an in-ground pool, and then I found out all the
requirements,
the tax increase adjustments and all that previous, and I did some research and spoke to some people that already had some homes and did my analysis and that. And like you could typically, you could probably fly under the radar in certain cases, but in certain things you cannot fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And just let's say creating that in-ground pool would have not only increased my taxes, the insurance on that would have gone up because it's a high risk. So these are just minor things. So I didn't end up doing that.
Yeah.
I kept the above ground pool with less than 3,000 gallons, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's under code, whatever. But the thing is that I didn't go to the extreme. To answer your question, I didn't go to the extreme of affecting the taxes in any way. Did I create the front of the house, I did some adjustments. Like I put like stone instead of like, what are the panels called?
Like the vinyl.
The vinyl. I did that a little bit. I took the gated, the Queen's Gate. I like to call it the Queen's Gate because in the Queens you have these gates with like holes.
Yeah.
They hit you in the hip or something. I changed that. I put the 6-foot wall around the house with the gate. So those are minor things that there's costs attached to it, but they didn't really do anything to the taxes.
I feel like this is so valuable too because one thing that we talk about a lot is that cost does not equal value.
Oh yeah.
So if let's say you upgrade the kitchen, but you go all out and spend, thousands on the stove, that doesn't mean that the next buyer is going to care for that stove and pay a premium for it, right? But generally speaking, if you renovate a kitchen and maybe you don't go all out with appliances or certain finishes, but you just renovate it nice to where it's appealing, people will pay a premium for that. Yeah. Same thing with the exterior. By changing the fence, by changing the siding, you're improving the curb appeal, which again makes it more appealing to more people and can drive up the value. The pool, however, increase in price. It'll increase your monthly expenses.
Everything.
Like your insurance, like you mentioned, your property taxes, but there's no guarantee that there's going to be huge demand or a huge percentage of the local demand that Massapequa is going to want a pool. There's no guarantee that people are going to necessarily want it. So therefore, you better be doing that for yourself, not
100%.
Because you want to get like a return on investment. So I love that too.
100%. And what I will add to that is, let's say your neighbors start to make big adjustments to their properties. That's ultimately going to affect your taxes as well. So keep that in mind as well. You learn as you go. So if your neighbors start to prop up and make super adjustments to their properties, the overall area starts to pick up on the pricing of the value of the location. So just keep that in mind as well. These are things that you don't know going in, you learn as you go, but now that you've learned it, let's say, for example, now you have that information as well. So just be mindful of that.
Thank you for sharing that. I have one more question about the space, about the garage, and then I want to talk about the podcast too, because I feel like that's so cool what you have going on.
Cool.
In the end, after the renovation for the garage specifically, do you feel like it met your expectations, it exceeded your expectations, or it fell below your expectations? When the whole project was complete, how did you like ultimately feel about it?
Like, we're talking about the garage or the podcast in a sense?
The garage renovation, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It met my expectations. Actually, it blew my expectations away. Because even as I looked at it before, all gutted and everything was like kind of like blah in a sense, like it looked crazy. You know, a personal touch into something that you have passion for, because that's a passion project for me. Mm-hmm. When I created the space and you see the arc, like when I looked at it empty, I was like, this space is bigger than I thought. Like it looks huge, it looks better, it looks professional, it looks like an office space in that regard. And then I started adding all the elements of everything else. But yeah, it definitely exceeded my expectations. Definitely exceeded my expectations. The only thing I need back there is I keep on mentioning AC is a restroom, and we're working that out. But once I have a restroom back there, bro, I'm just you're not gonna catch me anywhere but back there. Everybody in the house is gonna know where I'm at all times. I'm gonna just be right back there, hiding or recording or just sleeping, whatever it may be. Right, I'm gonna just be back there. But yeah,
I like that.
And I believe everyone needs a space in the house that's specifically for them. Like I call it the man cave, but of course, my wife, there's a gym back there. Everybody in the house uses, but I call it the G cave actually. I call it, but it's just
you're a girl dad, so it makes sense.
There you go, exactly. So
it works for you. It works for them.
Man,
everybody. The G cave is a perfect name.
It's a perfect name, but everyone needs a space in the house that brings them peace, tranquility, where you could just sit in silence and be relaxed. Mm-hmm. So, veterans, if you're looking for homes or any new home buyers, make sure that space that you require for yourself is in the home that you're seeking. If not, create it. If not, create it like I did.
Yeah, I like that, man. And the podcast is great. Like you're doing your thing. You do all the editing and all of that stuff yourself?
Yes. Editing. Well, of course. I had what you call it?
A mentor?
We had we had, and I'm gonna get to the mentor part in a moment. We had phones as cameras, and my cousin ACShots here. Big shout out to ACShots. He said, no. You need DSLRs. You need the big lens. You need this. And then I started getting excited until I saw the pricing for all of this. And I'm like, no. We're going to get the cheapest Sony camera with the cheapest lens. And it was still over $1,000 at that point. But now I got three cameras.
Lens?
The lens, but he'll tell you, the lenses itself will cost over $1,000 if you want to.
Yeah.
I didn't need that. The most I paid for a lens was like $400. Okay. And that's on the he told me that's on the very cheap side. But it does what I needed to do for me in my space, right? So I want to give a big shout out to AC because he helped me organize the aesthetics of the camera and the lighting, and he taught me all of that. As a matter of fact, I still bother him sometimes because, what setting was it that I needed to put on the camera because it's blurry or whatever, so I'm still learning in that end. But yeah, he had a big influence on the entirety of the space. The way it looks now with all the decorations, my wife has a lot to do with that, and a little bit. I have a little bit to do with that with the vision and stuff like that, because she gave it like a woman's touch, but it's a man's space.
Yeah.
So the aesthetics around it looks very cool, very relaxed. People have come in there and said, "Yo," but they didn't know what they were stepping into.
Yeah.
They're like, no. Let me walk in with my camera because this looks amazing.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize before coming that, oh my God, this is a good looking space for this, and it's amazing. So, as I sit back, I still go back there sometime, and I just stay in silence, looking around, and I'm like, oh my God, this is, I thank God for it all because I pray in there and everything just to make sure, He's the Most High. So the vision came from Him. I'm just executing, but man, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful space now. Yeah. But yeah, big shout out to AC for helping me out with the camera, lighting, and all that good stuff.
You're a good
That's
guy.
all in place.
You're a good guy.
He's the guy. He's the guy. But
AC Shots is a good guy.
And then
this is a commercial for AC Shots now.
Yeah. You know, AC Shot. Where is this camera? Yeah. AC Shots in the building, baby. Contact him. All social media sites, all that good stuff.
That's that guy right there. He's the people's photographer.
He's the people's. There you go.
People voted for him.
There you go. AC Shots,
Did
baby.
I say it?
But yeah, you know, and then along came Road with the switcher and stuff like that. So I deep dove into that too, and it's like now we're creating.
So podcasting like led to design and like creating this creative space. It led to like brand building and all of that stuff. It's kind of cool how it like snowballed into something
all from
big.
an idea, bro.
Yeah,
all from an idea during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So when you look at the space and all that, typically in the beginning you just see the vision of what you want to be, what you want the outcome to be. But I never thought it would be this beautiful. Like for me, for my standards, it exceeded my standards. That space exceeds my standards. But yeah, you know, now I'm having conversations with people from all walks of life, comedians, musicians, filmmakers, you know, politicians. Like I've sat with every angle of life, everything. So you know, parents, non-parents. You know, I call it the culture's platform at this point.
I like that. Yeah, I like that, man. That's dope.
Because as I'm moving forward and I'm making adjustments and you know, simplifying the process and all that stuff, more people are starting to come in now that it's like I never thought would be there, and it's like it's just a gift, and I'm just a tool at this point. Yeah. And it's to the point where it's just press record and you're there. Everybody's comfortable. Everybody's safe and in a good environment. That's another thing. The space, when you step into it, it brings out good energy. So I've had people after a podcast, let's say for an hour podcast, stay 6 hours afterward, just hanging out in the space. So you could tell that the space is just a good vibe in there. And we got drinks and stuff like that. We got coffee now. We got coffee, tea, drinks, whatever you want. I'm telling you, man. All I need is the rest. Matter of fact, a kitchen too. May go back there. I'm there all the time. Man. But yeah, the space is beautiful, man. And I'm just grateful to be a part of that journey.
That's cool, man. Do you prefer solo episodes or having a guest?
I prefer having guests. I've done very minimal solo episodes, and they're cool. You know, it's just quicker 15, 20-minute episodes. I probably need to dive into more of that, to be quite honest, to be more just front-facing with the camera myself. And I know I could do it because I've done it. Yeah. Is it perfect? No. It'll get there, I guess. But it's just, I just have to keep consistency on that. And I think I've mastered just having a guest in front of me and maneuvering through questions and topics that I just feel more comfortable doing the guests. So that's probably that. So I feel more comfortable doing the guests.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's also easier. Like, it's a easier, like, icebreaker. Me and Andy were, AC Shots were joking how I've been his third wheel before. So it's like, it's like, it does relieve a lot of pressure to, like, have, like, a way to kind of start a conversation to get into a topic versus me, like, sitting here and just talking about VA loans or talking about moving to Long Island or whatever the case is. Like, I'm not going to trigger the same thoughts or questions me by myself as, let's say, having
a conversation. Just breaking the ice as you
Makes sense. I have a question, man, because I'm so I grew up listening to like my brother's music. My brother's a lot older than me, so I would like listen to hip hop, and one particular like group / artist, Gangstar, had a rapper that's like, his name is Guru, and rest in peace, Guru, great, one of my favorite rappers. He was like very monotone, right? Like if you listen to his stuff, it just sounds very monotone, like very boring to a lot of people compared to different things, right?
Right.
But I like it, and I feel like sometimes I have a similar tone,
right?
And if you were to ask my wife, like sometimes she'll ask me questions or want to get something out of me, and I'll give her like one sentence at a time. Like I won't elaborate or I won't put too much thought into stuff. Like I'll just give her a very like dry answer.
Right.
What do you do like as a podcast host if you feel like you have to like pry questions out, like What is that thought process? Like if you're interviewing somebody and like maybe you feel like, oh man,
pulling teeth to get words out.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had that situation happen a couple of times, but that just I reverted back to me, right, as the host. That just demonstrate that I'm not asking the right questions, or maybe let me take a step back. Maybe I'm not like, I reverted back to me because the host controls the conversation. That's what I would say. So even I've had those conversations where, you know, some people just give one sentence at a time or a couple of words, but in my animation and approach to the questions, I'm giving you the energy to give it right back to me. So the energy for me is always a plus because I'm always like in a excited, my tone is always like high, and you know my energy's high, so it bounces back. So I've learned that if a guest does that, is because my tone is not giving that. It's giving the same answer that he's giving me, or the same approach, or the same response. The tone is the same thing that I'm doing to him. So I've had to, in pulling teeth, I've had to like amp up the conversation or switch tone or switch the topic and come back to it later. Or maybe not. Maybe just step away from the topic because the topic may be uncomfortable. Yeah. So as a host, I start learning these things throughout the process, throughout the interview. So what I do is, yes, I have my list of questions in front of me. I have my segments, my list of questions and all that good stuff. But I know that at some point I'm gonna have to take a left turn from this and go somewhere else. Yeah. So I would go through my segments and I would catch that little vibe of kind of like a flat vibe, and I'll step away from my questions and go into something that they were excited to speak about initially. Okay. And it'll switch the tone of the conversation. Yeah. It'll switch the tone of the interview. And then the interview always takes a life of itself. You just have to see where the life is as a host and stay there. And while you're there, ask your questions in a different tone or a different way. Because even as you're reading questions, the questions themselves may come off as one tone. So you got to switch it up and add your sauce to it. And as you give it, it's given back. It's kind of like energy. It bounces right back. So I've learned to maneuver through those conversations. So since those interviews were a long time ago where I had those situations, I've never had that situation happen again. So everyone that has stepped into the interview, I will tell you this. At first, everybody's kind of like nervous. They'll sit down. They're like, oh my God, what am I going to speak about? What am I going to do? I'm like, relax, I got it. Just follow my lead. Yeah. And by the time they, like 20 minutes in, 10 minutes in, they're already, you see them loose. Yeah. You see them relax, loose. Everybody's like having a good time. And the conversation is just, I've had to end the podcast at a 2-hour mark because I'm like, well, I'm going to do a whole bunch of editing for this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's done. Boom. Because the conversation has gone so long. I've asked all my questions and some, but the conversation is just there. It keeps going. Hence where the podcast ends. And I've had people remain for hours after just chilling with me because they just feel more comfortable. They're like, that's it? It ended? Like what? We've had a whole other podcast outside of the podcast in conversation.
Do you keep the cameras rolling just in case? No?
I did that once, and that was the biggest mistake of my life because I added more clips from that, and it ended up being a long podcast. What I've done also is I've pressed record again just to say, hey, let's just keep going because this part right here should have been in the episode. And I've caught those moments, but I won't do that again. I'm going to give the energy, give the vibes from the beginning. We're going to get all this energy out. And then we'll cut it off when it's done, and we could have a conversation after. It's fine, but we got everything we needed for that conversation. So I've learned through maneuver so much that I've gotten great interviews and some after. Okay. So yes, you've had those, and everybody comes in nervous. People who probably never done an interview before, or even if they have, like they still feel a little bit nervous. You see it in them. You see their body language. 10 minutes in, they're already like, oh.
Yeah, you're steering the ship. This is a vibe. I remember being there too, being in that same seat, and I went with AC Shots. It was like a Saturday morning, and like I felt relaxed. And then once I sit down, I'm like, I don't want to let you down, you know. Like I want to be able, and like those like just like you saying, like those nerves kind of like just fell off my shoulders as we kept the convo going.
And what I will say about that conversation that we had, you guys were the first ones. Like you was my first interview outside of what I was doing at that time, that where I interviewed somewhere else, which you was editing in the back and you was the producing in that end. But that process was the first time. So I'm here learning about myself as I go and how I host and how I maneuver through questions. Of course, it's been a couple of years since then, so now it's you're always moving forward and progressing. I hope everyone is doing the same thing. So as you maneuver through this space, bro, you just start saying, okay, we're just gonna sit and have a good time. This is not even an interview. This is just a good time.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
So I want to wrap up with two more pieces of advice. You already gave amazing advice for veterans.
Shout out to all the veterans and thank you all for your service.
So rapid fire. Was one piece of advice you would give to somebody looking to move to either Long Island or Westchester or the suburbs in general? And I'll repeat this if you need me to. And what's one piece of advice for somebody either looking to enter the podcast space or in the podcast space?
So the first part of that, where if you're looking to move anywhere, Long Island, what are you saying, for the first time?
Or if somebody's moving out of the boroughs
okay.
or moving to New York, let's say from somewhere else, but they're moving specifically to the suburbs, let's say Long Island.
What I would say is, my experience, for me, it was an easy transition because I left to the military at 18. So I had no choice but to live outside of New York in a different environment, more suburban, right? Like everywhere outside of New York, I say is more suburb because I didn't move to the city. I moved into like a suburb area in VA, in Texas or wherever it may have been, right? So for me, it was easier because I had that experience. It'd have been harder for me if I didn't have those experiences to move into a place that's totally the opposite of where I'm coming from. Us in the city as kids, we always loved the noise, the back and forth, the bodega being right there. You didn't really need a car for anything, right? You always had access to everything. So just having that experience in the military of just being a little bit isolated from all that led me to believe that I could move anywhere. I would have moved to Canada. I could care less because I've already experienced being alone in that sense. So for me, it was easier. It's hard for an inner city kid to move into those spaces unless they've experienced it somewhere in their childhood. Like where they visited a lot.
Try to expose yourself to like
expose
yourself in some way. Check out different areas. Maybe spend the day, spend the weekend, or whatever.
Right. Spend some time outside of your normal circumstances because that's the only experience that you could point to say, okay, this is a good move.
Yeah.
It'll be tougher for someone to just blank out and like move from their specific location where all their amenities are in place into a location where you feel isolated. And you're not truly isolated because the city's not that far from me. I could just literally go back to Queens or wherever, right? I still got family here and everything. But for me, it was just an easier move. And as you grow, as we're older, we want more tranquility, more peace, that type of energy and vibe. Right. You want to find parking a little bit easier, all that stuff. So we spoke about this before, but that made sense to me at this time frame in my life to do. So at some point, I want everybody to experience it. And again, there's another thing where some people don't like the quiet and, that type of Zen vibe environment, right? Some people always need to be in the mix, and that's perfectly fine too.
Makes some people like feel alive. I know I feel it sometimes. If it's like, if I'm on vacation or something, there's a certain point where I'm like, I got to move around. I got to see and hear things, and I got to feel busy, I guess.
Yeah. And there's certain people, vice versa. There's certain people in the suburbs that want to move to the city because they want to experience it, because they haven't experienced it their whole life. They probably went there a couple of times throughout their youth, but now there's people that are in the suburbs trying to get into the boroughs. But my overall experience and advice would be, test the waters. Get out of your comfort zone. Get into every zone.
Fair enough.
Just to see where you would want to be at the age where you want to be more, have a more flexible and peaceful life. Yeah. In that mindset.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a link for this video. We dropped a video that has 6 tips for scouting a neighborhood.
There you go.
6 different things that you can do to kind of get a feel for an area.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody either looking to enter the podcast space or in the podcast space, maybe looking to improve in some way?
This is an amazing question because for me, in my experience, I had to learn as I go. And what I will tell you is if you want to create a podcast, do it. Don't stop and just press record. As I mentioned in the beginning, this was no cameras at some point. At some point, it became iPhones. And real quick, it switched to DSLRs and expensive cameras due to this guy. Thank you for making such an expensive move in my life. But it made sense for what I was doing because I wanted to continue this podcast, right? So you're going to invest a lot of money because it's going to become your passion. If you have something to say or something valuable to contribute in the conversation, create a podcast. I specifically went into protecting the podcast at first. I went LLC route, trademark route, which is me, in my mind, protecting it before it even becomes whatever it becomes. This is before anything I did that. That's just me. Do I recommend it? Probably not. If you see it becoming something, the earlier you do it, the better. I always tell AC Shots to do the same thing. I would tell you, I would give you that advice. Protect your protect your media space, right? Because you're not just doing this here just to do it. You know, you're doing it because you want it to become something. So protection comes first, and just continue to press record. Don't stop. Consistency beats talent 100 times. You can have all the talent in the world. If you're not consistent, and when I say consistent, I don't mean speed. A lot of people get that confused. That in order for you to be consistent, you have to put out content. Yeah. No, you could do once a month. If it's once a month for now, it's once a month for now. If it's twice a month for now, it's twice a month. For me, it's once or twice a month because it's not only am I recording, I'm also doing the editing. I'm also doing the YouTubing, the TikTok, Instagram, every social media app, the hat store, whatever it may be. I'm in everything, but I'm learning everything. So I could hand off the recording to someone else, but now I love the way I do it. So I'm not gonna, and I've sped up that process with ChatGPT. We can get into that in another conversation. But learn as you go, fall in love with the process, and if you truly want to become a podcaster, just continue moving forward at your own pace. Of course, you could go to Buzzsprout route and go to hit all the audio channels, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. There's many platforms that do it. I do it through Buzzsprout. And then you could get into your YouTube's channels, your Instagram. Just start learning and protecting. And YouTube has become my university for all this. And just me knowing myself, just seeking information naturally is why the podcast is where it is right now. It wouldn't have been there had I not done all the studying, and AC would have came in with the tag prices and stuff, extreme cameras and stuff like that. You know, this guy, I can tell you something about this. He shows me cameras from time to time, and I look at the price, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with my $499 camera. I'm gonna stick with my little lens. I'm good. I'm not gonna. No. We're not gonna do that. But we get excited now when we see different cameras, different Rode products, different mics, different. Like, it gets us excited when a new product comes out, and it just facilitates our whole process. Like,
I can see it too. I can see like the excitement that you get from it.
You saw me. I was a kid when I got in here. I felt like a kid. I'm like, oh my God, this is toys. It's amazing. Man. So now that you're deep diving into this space, I'll recommend the same thing for you at your pace, consistency. That's all.
That's it. So if you're looking to take advantage of the VA loan, get started by getting information. Yeah. If you're interested in moving to a different area, for example, Long Island, Westchester, somewhere else in New York, or just any market that you're interested in, get a feel for it. You know, spend time there. And then last but not least, if you're looking to start a podcast, if you're looking to start recording, just hit record. Everything else will kind of flow afterwards. You'll end up starting to focus on protecting your media. And check out the Dad's Groupchat podcast. We'll link to it in the description here. And G, man, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate the invite, and it's much love to you. And I want to personally thank you for being the first guest on the podcast, coming on and breaking that ice, because everything is a process, and you was a part of the journey, my brother. So I want to thank you and AC Shots, because both of you have helped me out a lot in this process.
Good guy.
Well, listen, the Dad's Groupchat podcast, all platforms, every single TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Go check us out. We're just doing our thing there, having great vibes and great conversations.
Let's do it.